Hey beautiful people, it's Dez. One thing I've learned over this past year going through my breast cancer journey is that it really does take more than traditional medicine like chemo, radiation, and surgery to heal from cancer. It takes a holistic approach, mind, body, and spirit. Because just think about it. What do you feed your mind? Is it positive? Is it stinking thinking? What do you subject your body to, your ears to? What do you feed your body? What do you feed your spirit? What do you feed your soul? Is it love? Do you spread love? Do you speak life? Join me October 28th at 10 a.m. to raise awareness on the holistic approach to healing from cancer. See you there.
I am here. Well, for some of you, you're familiar with Dez Gerald. To others, you're Dez Stage Realtor. And to many, the warrior and survivor. So I want to first say thank you so much for joining me tonight. It is an absolute pleasure. And I appreciate you just sharing your words of wisdom, your vulnerability, and your story. So first,
thank you for having me.
You're welcome
to share my story.
Yay! So tell me a little backstory, where you're from, and what did you want to be when you grew up?
Okay, so I was born in Boston, February 5th, 1972, and born and raised there. I was first generation here in the States, but pretty much most of my family's from the island of Montserrat. And a lot of people are like, Montserrat, what is that? But if anyone knows about the island Antigua, it's pretty much like the sister island. You could see Montserrat from Antigua. So most of my family's from there. We have some from Barbados, Antigua, of course. But first generation here, grew up in Roxbury, and I'm actually doing what I wanted to do, I would say. I have a father that was an investor, so he was a landlord. He used to collect rent, right? So I do real estate, I do staging, I do interior design. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. However, we think she had OCD because we used to have to wake up Saturday mornings at 6 o'clock to clean, wipe the baseboards, rearrange furniture, clean the windows. And then after all of that, we would go shopping. And we would buy like new curtains, rugs, comforters, and we were always changing our rooms, our living rooms. So she kind of prepared me for staging.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I say I was born into it. So I'm doing everything that, I wanted to do. I actually wanted to be a designer. So yeah, I'm doing and a business owner. So it's pretty much what I'm doing.
You're doing everything in designs for sure, and real estate, definitely. Yeah. You kind of got that good old traditional 80s structure. Listen, they said you was going to clean the walls, you're going to clean everything, okay?
Everything.
So, and then who were the strong Black humans that you looked up to that helped to empower the Black girl magic within you?
Definitely my dad. He actually, I think he dropped out of school in his last year, I would say. But in the West Indies, I think they're like 2 years ahead. So actually it would be equivalent to, I guess, here in the high school.
Graduate.
Yeah, but he, to help his mom with his brothers and sisters. And then he left the island, went to England. And he always says, man, I wish I would have just went to college when I got there. But he spent his life working, sending money home to help take care of his brothers and sisters and his mom. And then he ended up in Boston. My grandfather sent for him to come to Boston. And when he got to Boston, he just still did the same thing. He worked, brought his family over one by one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we had a 3-level, they call it 3 families in Boston. And so we always had like family on every level. Like that's how we did it.
I love that. I told my brother if I ever won the lottery, I told him I would make us a, what do you call it? A compound. He said, that's too much like prison. I said, no. We would own own it. We would own the land.
Yeah.
Are you crazy? So
Well, my dream is actually to buy a whole bunch of acreage and gate it and just have our whole family. Everybody can have their own street.
Bruh, that was my
Named
dream.
after them. Wow.
He was like, it's prison. You gonna keep us in the fence? I'm like, no, because when you go into an upscale community, it's gated. Everybody can't get in. That is the purpose in having exclusivity.
Right. And then you have a family estate that you keep for generations and generations. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Right. That men are from Mars. So, now, tell us about life in design, staging, real estate, flipping homes. How did you, I know that's what you were born into, but how did you actually get into it?
I would say, I think it was 2001. 2001, I decided to leave Boston and come to North Carolina. And it was kind of a tragic story. My sister had married someone and they had visited North Carolina before they got married. And so it was always on her heart to move there someday. So they finally decided they're going to move. Her husband had his own barbershop in Brighton, and somebody that he knew came in. He was just like, where have you been? I haven't seen you. He said, man, I just got out, pretty much just got out of jail. He was in and out of jail. And he's just like, well, I hope everything is on the up and up. And, I hope things are, will go good for you from here on in. And I guess some of the things that he was saying kind of rubbed him the wrong way. So he told him to have a seat and he'll just give him a haircut on the house.
Right.
And so he went to pick up the phone and the guy took out a gun and started shooting.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, of course, he died. And they had a set of twins at the time. They were 5 years old. My sister was actually already here in North Carolina. She had found a job, so she was just waiting for them to come down in 2 weeks. Heard that and had to come back. And she came back, went through the funeral, all that stuff. And then I would say about 3 months later, 2 to 3 months later, she just woke up one day and was like, I'm still moving to North Carolina. I think that's what my husband would have wanted. And so she coerced me to come because I really was on my way to Miami because I wanted to get away from the cold. I definitely wasn't staying in Boston, but I was going to go to Miami because my father's side is there. Most of his side is there. But she's just like, Dad, oh my goodness, you should see the houses. And they got these model homes. You could go in there and you could do the interior design and you could stage them and decorate them. So I got here and she saw, I was like, no, I'm a city girl. I need to see tall buildings.
Right.
but yeah, I just, I felt like, we didn't have family here and I didn't want her to be out here by herself. So I ended up moving and stayed here ever since.
Oh, the things.
Then I got my real estate license in 2000 and 2003. I started studying for it, but I officially got it in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so started doing that, and then I got certified as a stager in 2007, and here I am.
Wow, you have to get certified as a stager?
You don't have to, but I think it's always good to have some type of certification, knowing that you went through some type of process. And we do have an organization called the International Association of Home Staging Professionals, and I'm actually the president-elect this year. I'll be the president next year. But it's an international staging organization. And so it's always good to be a part of something that holds you to a certain standard, a high standard. So,
period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be laxed in your job. That's what you're telling me.
Right.
So now you lived a concise and carefully planned life. Even though you got coerced into coming here, the things for our siblings, that's what I was going to say, up until the last couple of years. Can you tell us about what happened that changed your course?
So last July, the 21st day, I say, July 21, 2023, I'll never forget the date, is when I found out I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was heavy. It was when I found out, I was like, what? Say what now? And my kids, they're like you, especially my oldest, because and my oldest lives in Boston. She remembers going with me to Whole Food Market. Back then it was called it was Bread and Circus before it was Whole Food Market. People probably don't even know that. And now it's Whole Foods. But she remembers me going and just reading labels and you know, so I'm like the conscious eater in the family.
Right.
And I say, well, I'll probably eat, you know, 75% clean and the rest, you know, I eat whatever. But now it's just like I had to change that because I'm like, wait a minute, I was doing all of that and I still ended up with breast cancer. But you know, in my journey, I learned that it's so much more than what we eat. It's so much more. So
when you say it's so much more, what are those contributors?
I believe it's a mind, body, and soul type of thing, and that's why I decided to do the holistic journey before I even started anything. When I found out, I just did like a 3-day fast of just water. You know, I prayed, and you know, the first day was like, what in the world? But when I woke up, I'm one of those people where I get information and that day is like, but when I wake up the next day, it's a wrap. I'm going to figure out a solution, or I'm going to be like all over it. So I woke up and I said, you know, God, okay, I know this is happening for a reason. And I'm just going to decree and declare right now that I'm healed.
Right.
And I just want you to carry me through this. You know, I don't want to be afraid. Just carry me through it. Let me be a living, walking testimony of your goodness and your grace and your mercy. And that's pretty much how I went through my whole journey, just knowing that I was already healed and walking in that faith and that belief. And he did carry me. There was days where I woke up just so happy and overjoyed and laughing. And I literally had no fear. The only time I've had a little bit of fear is when I went to the doctors. And I hate to say it, and I don't know if they're trained to make you feel afraid.
Right.
But, you know, it was just, I had to always brace myself. I had to brace myself every time I went to the hospital to get whatever news I had to get. Because it was just like, oh, you need to do this because, you know, I almost felt like there was scare tactics, you know? Yeah, because I mean, there were times where I was just like trying to figure out what I was going to do. Because this is a new thing for me. This is a new, I had no idea anything about cancer. Right. And so I was trying to do all this research, just trying to figure out how to get, you know, create a solution for myself. And one solution that I came up with was, okay, I have to go back and I have to get an MRI. I have to get a bone scan. They wanted me to do all this stuff after I found out. And they wanted me to do it like within a couple of weeks. So I said, no, you know what? I'm going to fast. So I pushed it out and I fasted for like 40 days. 40 nights on just raw fruits and vegetables because I just wanted to see if it would make a difference. The nurse navigator, you know, when I was just asking, hey, is there a way that you guys can test what I'm doing at home is working or not? And she's like, no, unfortunately not. We can't. But she said, but when are you doing your MRI? And I said, well, I'm doing it. I think it's like scheduled for like 2 weeks, but you know, if there's a way, she said, well, we got your numbers from your, they did a breast biopsy to find out. She said, well, once we do the MRI, then that will tell us if any type of difference happened, right? So I said, okay, I'm gonna give myself at least 40 days. So I pushed it out. I canceled the appointment, pushed it out. They called me back. They rescheduled for me. They didn't ask. They just rescheduled it. And I was like, hey, Ms. Gerald, we noticed that there was a cancellation. So we rescheduled for you and put you back at this date and this time. And I'm like, well, why would you do that?
Right.
Nobody even like said, hey, they didn't call me. They actually rescheduled for me without even asking me if the day and time would work. So I was just like, what is going? It just felt so weird in the beginning for me.
It's scary.
And it's scary. And it's like, I know that they're doing their best too, right? You know what I'm saying? Because they're trained to deal with this situation. So they're probably like, oh my gosh, we got to hurry up and we got to do this and do this, not knowing that I'm like, no, I'm gonna take a step back, because I'm not walking in fear. My whole thing is I'm not gonna walk in fear. I'm gonna walk out in love, right?
Right.
And I think in doing that, in order for me to walk in love at that point, I felt like, okay, let me fast, let me pray, and let me take at least 40 days to try to just restart my body, restart my engine, and so that's what I did. When it came time for me to do the MRI and I did a CAT scan, bone density, the MRI, it showed that it shrunk.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But it wasn't acknowledged. It wasn't acknowledged that it shrunk. As a matter of fact, I asked the doctor, she's like, well, you really can't go off of the MRI. I was like, well, the nerve navigator told me that would be a good, way for me to assess if anything was working. So again, it was just up in the air. And I felt like it was shrinking. And what I was doing was helping. So at that point I said, well, I have a holistic coach. He's the one that put me on a protocol. But my family really wanted me to be under a doctor's care. So I found this alternative center in Florida called Utopia Alternative Cancer Center. And I went there. I created a GoFundMe to get some help take care of it, because it was very expensive.
Right.
Extremely, because the insurance companies, they do not, they don't support it. So everything had to be out of pocket. So I went there. They did this test called the Nagelase test, which it's actually, they say it kind of gives you a guide as to where your levels are, to help you determine like if their treatment works. I think Nagelase, I can't remember exactly, but it's a way to help you detect if there's any cancer in your body. They can't really say that, but it's a tricky thing. They can't really say that's what it does, but that is a way for them to kind of gauge if their treatment is working. Okay. So I took the test. They actually was like, this is actually pretty good. You did some work on your own, didn't you? And I said, yeah, I fasted. I told them I was eating. And then the doctor there was like, well, you got to eat more than just fruits and vegetables now. You're in fruits and nuts and berries. So he said, what I want you to do is, he's like, because you got to live, and you're accustomed to eating meat and stuff like that. He said, so, but they wanted me to eat organic meat, and they wanted me to eat like grass-fed meat, stuff like that. So I did try chicken. I vomited all over the place. I was like, okay, my body doesn't want that. It's not ready for that. And so I kind of just stuck with fish while I was there, like a wild caught fish, and ate my vegetables, my fruits. In hindsight, I definitely would have probably just stayed home and did what I was doing, because I think introducing my body back to meat, I think it slowed me down. Although I will say, I did come back. I did just about 5.5 weeks there, came back, was like, what am I going to do? Because I was like, I had to leave. I was like, there's no way I'm going to keep paying this amount of money. So I came back, and I did have a second opinion breast surgeon here that I was seeing. So I went to her. I had already made up my mind to go ahead and start chemo. But I did go to her. and she did some testing. Now in her room, she has like where she could do an ultrasound so she could get some measurements.
Right.
The same day that I started chemo, I found out that it had shrunk some more. So I was just like, okay, wow. So I said, you know what? I'm going to just go ahead and do the chemo and finish out and we'll just see what happens. And I did that during my journey with chemo. I didn't really go through a lot. I wasn't bedridden. I was waking up still jogging, lifting weights. I had a lot of energy. But I really do attribute it to the way that I was eating.
Right.
You
start.
Yeah. I really think I prepared my body up front for the chemo. Mm-hmm. I had very minimal side effects. Very minimal. Like my nails had turned like red. I had these spots on my nails and my toes. Mm-hmm. A couple of times I just couldn't go to sleep because they had put me on steroids and it was keeping me up. What else? I started to get some numbing and tingling sensations. I had like 4 treatments of the really, really, really harsh chemo. And I was like, okay, if I got through this, like skating through this, I'm gonna be fine, with the rest of the stuff. So when they switched me to the next medication, like I said, I started to get like the tingling sensations. It's pretty much all gone now. Mm-hmm. It took a little while for it to go away. But yeah, I just kept juicing, kept eating my fruits, kept eating my vegetables. I was eating like meat, wild-caught meat. Wild-caught seafood, fish, grass-fed beef. I did eat beef. But one thing I did learn is that in order for us to maintain really good health, our body literally has to always be in like a detox mode. So whatever you eat, it always has to pass through you like in an instant. Like it should always be passing through you. When you eat meat, the meat sits in your body for about 2 to 10 days. And it's almost like rotten inside of your body. Which doesn't help. It doesn't promote. It promotes illness. So, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. So.
Now, when you were diagnosed, did you have any symptoms or you just went in for a routine exam?
So I found a lump. I found the lump. And I didn't go in right away only because I had gotten a breast reduction. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was just scar tissue that I was healing from the breast reduction.
Wow.
But it turned out that I wasn't. So, yeah. So when I didn't see it like really going away, I said, you know what, let me go get this checked out just to make sure that it's just, from the surgery. And when I went in, yeah, they was like, oh, we see something a little suspicious. We want you to go, to this other place to get checked out. I went and they were like, yeah, we need to do a biopsy. Did the biopsy and then that's when I found out.
Wow, and you treated yourself basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where are you now on the scale?
Okay, so after chemo, I had surgery. I had to wait 4 weeks before I could do the surgery. The first time around, she didn't get everything. And she said she didn't get everything. She didn't go all the way to the edge. I don't know exactly what that means.
Right.
But she didn't go all the way to the edge because the tissue looked normal. What they did when they had the surgery, she removed what she thought was there that was left back. And she said she didn't go to the edge because everything looked normal. When they sent it off to pathology and it came back, they showed that I had a little bit left. So they called me back in for a second surgery. It was like a 20-minute surgery so that she could go all the way to the edge. And once she did that, they got clear margins. Everything was out.
Congratulations.
Thank you. They did say that out of the 100% of cancer that was there, I was left with a little bit less than 10% was left after I had done the chemo and everything.
Mm-hmm. So what
it wasn't much to take out.
So with the less than 10%,
and it wasn't active, which was very important.
Okay, so non-active versus active, what is the difference?
So I think when you do like an MRI, I guess it shows up lit somehow. It looks lit, so it didn't look like it was active. It didn't look lit or anything. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, because I'm telling you, you had the faith of a mustard seed and you saw it through
more than a mustard seed. So I knew I was getting through it.
Period.
You only do have to have faith the size of a mustard seed. So,
right.
But I have faith that will move mountains. I really have a strong relationship with my Creator, and just belief and faith, because I've been through so much already that He's brought me through, that I was just like, okay, God, I know you got me. Just hold me through this whole thing, and He did. So,
right. Well, you're the testimony, so you had to go through it.
I asked to be a walking, living testimony.
That's right. Yeah, you couldn't be a false prophet. You had to go through something serious to get to this point to where we're talking to the people about it.
Absolutely.
Now, building a circle of healing through family and friends, was that easy for you? Because you probably had to let some things go and hold on tight to some things that is still around, like your sister.
Yeah, my sister was there. She went with me to almost every chemo treatment, appointments. If she wasn't there, my daughters were there. My family, I come from a very supportive family. We support each other a lot. Even with the story with my sister, her husband was killed and she moved here. I mean, me and my mom kept her kids for a few months before they even came down to join her. That's just, my dad, look at my dad. He brought all his family over here. It's just, that's what we do.
Right. Big family.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Now, you have, and speaking of your circle of friends, your circle of love, you have something on Instagram that is alluding to helping other women and men, because you have men that's diagnosed with breast cancer as well. So can you tell us your social media and what you're doing with that page?
So you talking about my TikTok page or what was it?
It says at IG.
Oh, okay. So what I am planning on doing is I'm doing a 5 to 10K. I was going to do 10K because I love walking. I walk almost every day, about 4 to 5 miles a day. And my sister's like, well, not everybody's not going to want to do 10K. So I'm doing a 5 to 10K walk, and I'm calling it the Dez Gerald inaugural 5 to 10K Cancer Healer Walk. And I want to change the I want to change what people say, I'm a cancer fighter, or I survived. No, I'm a healer.
Right.
Because I feel like if we start using that word and we actually walk out on faith and believe that, we will be healed. We can heal ourselves. And I want people to know that you can heal yourself, because when you go to the doctors and you go to the hospitals and stuff, their thing is, oh, well, we don't know how it happened. And I'm like, it just happens. Cancer don't just happen.
Right.
So I had to do all the research on that to find out how could this possibly have happened to me, right? I found out that if you don't have enough oxygen going through your cells, that creates an environment for cancer. Your environment, your actual environment, the people that you surround yourself with, being uptown next to like a lot of the 5G lamps and just the technology that could be doing things to us to where we're not getting enough oxygen. It's a lot. Not being out in nature is not good for us. Like we should be out in nature. Like I learned that if you wake up and go out and be in the sun when the sun starts to rise, just before about 9:30, 10 a.m., you can get the healing power from the sun infrared rays. Those are healing powers. Those are things that your body needs to be able to protect you against free radicals during the day. Right. So it's a lot. Like it's just a lot. I'm not saying one thing causes cancer. It's like a combination of things. So that's why I'm pushing, the Cancer Healer Walk and letting people know it's more of a mind, body, spirit type of thing. It's not just what you put in your body. It's what you think. It's your spirit. It's the people that you surround yourself with. If you're dealing with toxic relationships or being in toxic environments, eventually, yes, that could be cancerous to your body. It's bad for your health. And so I've just learned to live in a high vibration mode. Just staying high vibes. And if I'm around people that are negative or they just they don't have high vibes, I run away. I say deuces.
We don't have time for Debbie Downers, okay? So can you tell our listeners the date and the meetup location and where they can register for the walk?
Okay, so far, and I was in the very beginning stages, I am going to plan to have it on October 28th. It was the 14th, and the location that I wanted was already booked. I've been going back and forth with the city now to find a location, and we have pushed it back to the 28th so we could have enough time to plan and make sure that we solidify the location. So all I have right now is the date, which is October 28th, and we wanted to start the walk at 11 a.m. I would say where I'm trying to have it is a Mallard Creek Greenway is where we're trying to lock down that location. But I haven't had a confirmation from the city yet.
That's okay. It's coming. You manifest pretty well.
Yeah.
So do you have a social media page where viewers and listeners can follow you?
I would say they can go to Dez Gerald on Facebook. I am Dez Gerald LHS on TikTok. A lot of my journey is actually on TikTok. And Dez Gerald on Instagram as well.
Okay. The healer. Dez Gerald the healer. Y'all got to hear first. Boom. Okay. So thank you so much, Dez. I really appreciate you coming through and talking with me and just sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I mean, inspiring women. Like we were on social media, but when I saw your diagnosis, that just broke my heart. But you handled it, like the way that you handled it in your walkthrough has been inspiring to see. Although I think your other page is shut down, but when
someone stole my Facebook page. Yeah, I had over 5,000 followers. I had a lot of my videos on there. Someone stole it. So I had to create a new page on Facebook. So if you do go to Facebook, you're not going to see my journey, but I would say all of my journey is on TikTok.
Well, that's good because you got a blueprint of what other women or other men can follow if they need that motivation and inspiration. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to follow your new page. Please don't delete me.
I won't.
Thank you.